Hey guys, so as you've probably seen, OpenAI, they recently announced that they were shutting down Sora. That's their platform that generates videos. And I'm going to talk about it from my perspective as a data analyst. So first of all, we know that Sora is shutting down because it's just too expensive. It costs too much money and it costs too much energy. On average, a 10-second video, it's estimated to consume about 1 kilowatt per hour of electricity, which, that might seem enough at, it might not seem a lot at first. Especially when, the average household consumes 30 kilowatts per hour per day, and 1 kilowatt per hour per day per video. Compared to that, it doesn't seem like a lot, but Sora, they're generating tens of millions of videos per day, and most of them were longer than 10 seconds. So it was a lot of power, and it cost around $15 million or $5 billion per year to run, which is a lot of money for investors to pour into something. And if they didn't have a strategy to actually make the technology profitable, then it's really just a huge money pit. It's a cool technology, but the investors, they aren't there for cool technology, so they're just there for the profit. Which brings me to my next question. Will technologies like Sora ever become profitable? And the truth is, I don't know. I can't predict the future, but I definitely think that, they'll definitely come back, kind of like how Vine, if you go back like 10 years ago, you'll remember Vine was huge, and it was pretty much like an early version of TikTok, and it got shut down, but, the demand for short videos is still there. So it came back, it came back as TikTok. So there is a demand for that technology, and then there's definitely a demand for this, video technology. I don't know if you guys saw the Coca-Cola ad, but Coca-Cola did this commercial to create these Christmas ads using AI. So companies, they're already doing this. Everyone knows, that the corporations, they'll lay you off in a heartbeat, if they can save a few dollars. So it's not like they have like ethical, moral qualms about AI. And fun fact, I actually showed the Coca-Cola Christmas ad, to my grandparents, and a few of, their friends and everything, and they all loved it, and they thought that, the Coca-Cola ad, it had like a classic vintage vibe to it, and it reminded them of their childhoods and seeing, the Coca-Cola ads that they grew up with. So it was really weird actually hearing it from their perspective, because I talk to people my age and they absolutely hate that ad, and they call it like AI slop and whatever. So it's weird to see, that, the different generations are viewing things differently. They would have been part of the silent generation. So it's weird, because everyone I talk to hates it except them, hates those ads. And even, I think they misspelled Coca-Cola in the commercial too. It was misspelled Coca-Cola for some reason. So, I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens. But yeah, I don't think these technologies, I don't think they're going to be gone forever. My dad went to Duke, and he was a mechanical engineer, and he told me that, in college he learned all about, the neural networks and what would be the foundation of modern AI. He learned it, in some of his statistics classes. And the issue back then was the computing power, and that they had all these theories, but because the computers weren't powerful enough, it couldn't do all those computations. They couldn't actually test anything. They couldn't, test out those algorithms. And I think we're in that phase right now with, LLMs and, Sora and stuff like that. They're unprofitable now. But once someone develops, a more efficient algorithm that uses less computational power, I think, they'll be back, because I think Coca-Cola, they don't want to pay huge marketing teams to come up with commercials. They would rather just use AI for that. So I think it's crazy. And then he also told me too, my dad, as a mechanical engineer, there used to be entire teams of people that they'd Yeah, so that the engineers, they design a product, but they didn't have the skills to like draw it out or anything like that. So they had like huge teams of people to like the drawings, the potential products, and the blueprints before they'd make them. And he said that once, computer software came out to actually do that for you, it was like a game changer. And the engineers could just, do those blueprints by themselves. They didn't need, to go to like, those people who would do the mock-ups. So he said like entire like that industry was pretty much wiped out. And I think it's crazy, I feel like in the future, the big marketing teams, it might be kind of like that, where they just get automated out by AI in these Sora videos. So if you're one of those people who's using Sora to create Bible animes or those weird videos of cats fighting Bruce Lee, I think you should just be patient, because I'm pretty certain that this technology will be back in the future. Just my 2 cents. I hope you enjoyed the video, and peace.